So here is our passage number 2, which talked about women and jewelry and the fact that they do not have much of an agency, and that jewelry goes on and talks about or reflects their marital status and sexual availability. That's broadly what it dealt with. If you look at the first paragraph, it basically says that a woman's wearing of jewelry is regulated by the society. It indicates a marital status and sexual availability. However, men do not have any such corresponding uh, restriction in terms of jewelry, or for them, we don't really use it as a marker of anything. Then comes the next paragraph. Now, this paragraph essentially focuses on the simple thought that jewelry is always understood in the context of presentation for a man. So, a woman who's pre-puberty, no jewelry, though a bit of experimentation allowed. From puberty until marriage, no jewelry. In fact, you're not even supposed to show enthusiasm for marriage or attracting a mate. And then finally, the third and the last paragraph. This one here talks about wedding day, and it marks the beginning of a woman's life as a decorated being. So married women in India have a variety of markers to symbolize their status. The markers have regional variations. So that's basically the crux of this third and the last paragraph that we find in this passage. Let us get into our questions. Question number 5. None of the following statements are implied by the argument of the passage except. So none of these are implied except, which means one of these is implied, and the one that is implied is the one that we want to mark or choose as our answer. So let us dive into these and see whether they are true, false, or can't say. So A, prior to puberty, young Indian girls have freedom with respect to jewelry usage. No. Prior to puberty, they do not generally own or wear significant jewelry. Right? Although a bit of flexibility, a bit of experimenting is allowed. So A is definitely not true. B, Indian females have to compulsorily ornament themselves. Now, it is again distorted, in fact false. So in some cases, after marriage, etc., you are supposed to ornament, present yourself, but then pre-puberty and puberty, you're not supposed to do it. So are all Indian females, can we say this about all the Indian females? Definitely not. So this is false. Let's look at C. Indian men also use jewelry to signal changes in their. This is once again false. The very last sentence of the first paragraph contradicts it. D. Married women in other regions of the world may wear only a wedding band to symbolize their marital status. So two things. Number one, the use of may says that, is it possible? So there is a line in this passage, and I quote, married women in India have a variety of markers to symbolize their status and the degree to which different elements are required, etc. So it varies from region to region. Now, instead of a single wedding band, an Indian wife might wear a bindi, a piercing, a gold chain. So instead of a single wedding band, this somehow suggests, we can't be 100% sure, but that part suggests that married women in other regions of the world may be or are perhaps wearing only a wedding band, and therefore this entire sentence can be labeled true, and that is why our answer to this question should be option D. Let's move over to our next question. Question number 6, your typical main idea question. So let's see, Indian women's jewelry as a symbol of their ownership. Well, jewelry shows marital and sexual status. It does not show ownership, and therefore this option introduces something which is not even mentioned in the passage. So out of scope or irrelevant. B, how about B? The role of jewelry in Indian women's marital and sexual status could be our answer. C, jewelry as a tool of discrimination against women in Indian society. See, they are being used to indicate marital status and sexual availability. Can we say that these two things equal discrimination? Not necessarily. That's one. Second, is it the theme of the passage? Does it say how and wearing what leads to your being discriminated against? We struggle to find such instances actually. And therefore, this is also something that I would label as irrelevant. D. Indian women's jewelry at different stages of their lives. Now, the passage does talk about it, but this option misses out on the crucial idea that a woman's wearing of the jewelry is regulated by the society. She lacks the agency. And that the jewelry is not meant for her but for others' presentation. So, this is very narrow. So if I look at it, the best option so far is very clearly B. So let's mark that as our answer. Let's move over to our next question based on this passage. All of the following are true except, so 3 are true, 1 is not true. We are supposed to figure out that one. So the lives of all Indian women are strictly divided into categories. All. The passage does allow for regional variations and uses the term almost universally. It does not say all. So this is not true. This seems to be the answer, but let's see. Young girls post-puberty are expected to not ornament. True. Second paragraph. C. Wearing jewelry is rarely governed by a woman's own pleasure in India. True. That's the central theme, in fact. Jewelry is so thoroughly and deeply intertwined with marriage that it is almost never considered a neutral category, something a woman might wear for her own pleasure. Mentioned. And D, Indian women are extremely heavily ornamented on their wedding day. True. So our answer very clearly is option A. And here comes the last question from this passage for you. So which one of the following statements best expresses the point being made by the author? So essentially, the examiner has picked up a sentence from the passage, and we are in a way being asked for the meaning that we are asked to pick up the answer choice that gives you a meaning that is closest to this particular sentence. So which one should we choose? So this statement conveys that the idea of wearing jewelry is inextricably linked to the idea of respecting patriarchy and thus pleasing your spouse. And this idea, I think, is best captured in option D. If you look at A, it is false. Prepubescent, pre-puberty women can wear some jewelry. Experimentation. Okay. Then B, Indian women wear jewelry only for their own pleasure. Once again, false. And then if you look at C, jewelry is a means for Indian women to attract potential suitors. Oh, they are not supposed to do that. From puberty to marriage, no. So this is again false. So B and C are very clearly false. In fact, A is also false because there's some section of women pre-puberty who are allowed to wear, and that is why our answer to this question should be option D.